Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin with the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
Doing great. How about you, Eric?
Doing fantastic. We are heading into fall. And here in the Northeast, fall temperatures have hit.
It sure has. We've been down in the upper 30s the last couple of nights. It's been beautiful though, but it's just like it's October. Some of the foliage is turning color, but as normal with New England, it's supposed to be back in the 70s and maybe 80 by Thursday this week. So,
Well, you know the old saying, if you don't like the weather in New England, wait 15 minutes, it'll change.
there you go. So, we're going from air conditioning to heat to air conditioning all in a week.
Right. So today we're going to talk about time management. And time management over the last several months has been a unique challenge because it's not a matter of just tracking your time and making sure everything gets done. People have actually been losing track of time, not even knowing what day, week, or sometimes even month it is. I have meetings that are scheduled on the same day each month, second Thursday, third Friday, things like that. And routinely over the last few months, I have gotten requests for the login information on a meeting, and I've had to tell them, you missed that meeting, it was last week. Because people have just lost track of time. So today, we're going to talk about how you can manage your time and tips and tricks to keeping track of it so that it doesn't get away from you.
Yeah, especially since time management will not be the same moving ahead now that we have this pandemic and the new normal and so on and so forth. I mean, the whole workplace arena has changed where a lot of people obviously have been forced to work out of their homes for the last several months, but a lot of people are never going back. And so businesses are adjusting as far as how they run themselves, which is going to affect how your time is managed at your home. And then you're juggling the new school schedules where you have kids going to school 2 days a week and homeschooling 2 days a week. So there are a lot of different things to consider. And obviously, work is important, but having a balanced life is very, very important these days. And it's really important more than ever now to work on yourself to keep yourself, number one, sane, but number two, physically fit, work and things like that. So it's a whole new picture and it's exciting in different ways. But as you're saying, I mean, a lot of people are losing track because they've been home for so long and they've just been kind of staring at things.
Yes, they have. And the first tip I'm going to talk about is just using a calendar. Schedule everything, whether it's work related, home related, your school, your kids' school, meetings, getting together with family, whatever it is you have going on, make sure you put it on a calendar. Now, if you're a pen and paper type person, a standard, weekly planner is great, but I recommend using the calendar on your phone. Put the details in there and put notifications on so that your phone becomes an active reminder of what you have to do, where you have to be. When you have regularly scheduled events, that's going to go a long way to helping you track what day it is, when it is, because your phone is going to keep reminding you of everything that you have to get done. So you won't miss an appointment, a phone call that you have to make because you lost track of what week it is.
Yeah, obviously, having a central location for everything, especially with the technology that we have today, that's a catch-all, including the reminders, is really so important. So, I mean, I still like having my written system too, which, as you know, I keep everything in an Excel spreadsheet written down, and I have a page for every week that has the days of the week across the top and the times on the left side, and write things in there. But what you're talking about with the reminders and so on and so forth. Paper can't do that. So it's really, really important to have that. And if you have a double check system like I have, again, the message is you got to keep a really, really good calendar. And the better the reminders, the better off you're going to be.
Right. And make sure if you have multiple calendars, say on your desktop computer, on your laptop, on your phone, make sure they are all synced. Android phones can sync using Google Calendar. iPhones can sync using iCloud, but make sure all of your calendars are working together. So if you put an event in one calendar, it appears on all of them. This way, you're not putting something on your phone and putting something else on your computer and having conflicts.
Yeah. What system do you use? Because again, I'm more manual, but do you have any particular suggestions for our listeners out there?
Well, I personally use the calendar on my Mac and iPhone and iPad. They all sync up. So no matter which one I'm looking at the same calendar. And that's just built into the phone. It comes with the system software. So it's everybody who has an iPhone or a Mac has this system. It's just a matter of using it.
Okay, that sync too with like programs like Outlook, because I mean I still use Outlook on my computer, and reminders are stored there when I have like Zoom meetings coming up and things like that.
You can sync it with Outlook. And what I really like is that because of the way Apple works and when they integrate everything, Siri will actually look at your mail program and see if there is an event that somebody emailed to you or that you emailed to somebody. It will ask you, do you want to put this on your calendar? And sometimes it'll just put a tentative event on your calendar for you to check. So if you forget to put it on your calendar, the computer does it actually for you.
It's amazing. It's almost like Siri's your guardian angel. So, obviously, other time management skills that you need to do, especially if you're working from home now. I mean, you have to look at the logistics. You have to look at your workspace. You have to look at planning your schedule around what you may have going on at home, such as children around and things like that. Uh, you're also going to be doing probably a whole lot of Zoom meetings. So you really have to set up the situation and put it in your calendar as far as when you're doing what um, to really adjust to life at home.
Absolutely. And that includes things like a to-do list, the checklist. Write everything down. Don't try to keep it in your head. We've talked about that a lot. It's better to have a record of what you need to do and when you need to do it. So if you have a to-do list program that can tie into your calendar, even better. If your to-do list is on pad and paper, that's fine. But make sure that items on your to-do list have deadlines. And what day and date these need to be done by. This will help you keep track of time. Now, I actually use a program called Things. One of the things that I love about this program is that when I launch the to-do list for that day, it pulls events from my calendar. So not only am I getting the to-do list, I'm also getting everything that was listed on the calendar that has to be done today. So it's a backup to the phone's notifications. When I turn everything on in the morning, it comes up on my screen and I say, okay, this is everything I have to do today.
Yeah, having everything in one place. I mean, calendars are not just for appointments. Having that to-do list, prioritizing, that's always been important, and it's never been so much important as it is right now, especially when you're bound to have some interruptions going on at home. So having everything in one spot is much needed. And if you are not putting your events in your calendar along with your to-do list, it's something you should strongly consider doing.
Exactly. And, we're talking about scheduling things. Having been home for months, many people have lost their schedules, their motivation in a lot of cases of getting things done. So you need to put a schedule together to help keep you on track. Now, this doesn't just mean work items or places you need to be or things you have to do. It also includes things like sleep. You need to schedule what time do you get up every morning? What time do you go to sleep every night? And make that a ritual so that you're doing the same thing every morning and getting up, so that you're doing the same thing just before you go to sleep each night and you're falling asleep. Sleep patterns have been completely thrown out of whack by our lack of schedules and being stuck at home. So it's very important that you take control of that and make it a ritual.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as planning your day too, it's not sit down at the desk at 8 o'clock every morning and then leave every day at 4 o'clock. You have to schedule in time for yourself for breaks. It's a great opportunity now that we are at home. If you haven't started a program where you're doing some exercise or getting out and walking every day, start doing that too and put that in your calendar every day. And the bottom line is getting outside and enjoying some fresh air for a half an hour every day, especially before winter comes, is a great way to clear your mind and to stay focused on what you're doing.
Right. And, a while back, we discussed the book, The Miracle Morning. This is a great idea for getting yourself going in the morning. Now, the book is geared towards, you get up 5 a.m. and do these things. But given that you're not commuting anymore, or at least most of us aren't, you have that time to play with. So even if you schedule, say, getting up at 7:30, put together that morning ritual like Miracle Morning talks about. That helps you get the blood pumping in the morning and get moving.
Yeah, absolutely. From both from your physical fitness side of things, but also working on your mindset. Because part of this is working on your gratitude journal every day, maybe writing some things. And there's other things that you can do in the morning to really help get yourself in the positive mindset. And that does not include turning on the news.
Yeah, keeping a positive mindset gets difficult when you start the day with news. It's not the best thing to do. You want to look forward to your day, to be energized. By the same token, I have found a lot of people, now that they're home, they're doing things in the house that they always said they would do when they were going to, a workplace, but somehow they never got around to. Uh, Going to the gym. Many people have started exercising at home. Get yourself some exercise equipment. It doesn't have to be fancy or even expensive. A couple of dumbbells is all you need. Work out each day, even if it's only for a few minutes. It gets the blood pumping, it gets you going. Meditate. This is a great way to shut out the world, relax, get your mind where it needs to be. But again, make these things rituals that you're doing every day. The more you schedule and the more things you do, repeatedly, the easier it is to keep track of your time so you know what day it is, what week it is, and you're not so isolated.
Yeah, and what the Miracle Morning started out with is it talked about maybe just a half an hour each morning or maybe even less, and talked about maybe a combination of exercising for 10 minutes doing some meditation, doing some scribing in your gratitude journal, things like that. But if you can develop that positive routine to really get you going, it sets the tone for the rest of the day. And that's one of the neat things about the exercise thing. The first thing you said was have a nice glass of water, and then all I do is about 10 minutes every morning just to get the heart pumping. It's not like I'm doing any crazy stuff. And meditation is part of it too, and a couple of other things. And I've been starting my day like that for a long, long time, and it makes a big difference, especially now.
Right. And a routine before you go to sleep is just as important as a morning routine. Something that doctors have been recommending for a long time is shut off the screens at least 10 minutes before you're going to sleep, preferably about half an hour. The light that comes from the screens keeps you awake. When you put the screens down, take a few minutes to meditate. Do your evening routine, which could be, washing your face, brushing your teeth. Wind down. Let go of all the stress you've had from the day. But again, the important thing is that this becomes a ritual. So you have this scheduled at the same time every day, and you go to sleep at about the same time every day.
Yeah, and again, part of that evening winding down ritual is getting back to the gratitude. Gratitude for what happened today, looking forward to things going on tomorrow. The last thing you need to do is rehash anything negative that's gone on during the day. And that's really, part of living in the present moment. Just what you're appreciating, what you're looking forward to tomorrow, and that's going to help you sleep a whole lot better.
Right. And, when you're looking for things to be grateful for, I know it gets hard some days because things happen, but you need to be grateful for the simple things. When I was a kid, I read an autobiography written by George Burns, and he described what he did in the morning. And he said the first thing he did was he opened his eyes, and if he could get out of bed, he sang a chorus of Honeysuckle Rose. And then he would go about his morning routine, and he would go to the dining room or the kitchen to eat breakfast. He would pick up the day's paper, and he would look at the obituaries. And if he wasn't in them, he would sing another chorus of Honeysuckle Rose. It's that sort of thing. We have a tendency to focus on negative. Oh, COVID is terrible. So many people, are going out of business, and so many people are contracting the virus. But you have to be grateful for what you have. The example with George Burns was he was grateful that he was able to get out of bed every morning and he was still alive. Most of us can still do that, and we should be grateful for that.
Yeah, and obviously, we talked about turning off the news and the media and so on and so forth. And the reason is because you're peppered with negativity all the time, where in fact, we're the voice of awareness here that people are born good and there's a whole lot of good out there. And if you can become that yourself through your habits and just be grateful for things and show that, other people are going to appreciate that too. And you're going to all of a sudden start being aware of that in other people, even though they don't even see that they have that themselves. But people talk about changing the world, and we have the pandemic, we have the racial injustice, which is a huge issue right now, and so on. But there's a whole lot of good things going on as far as the way people feel about it. Not only now, but it's pulling out the feelings that have always been inside of people, and now we're really starting to act upon them really as one, because we're all hurting from this thing and we're all outside of our comfort zones and we need each other. And we never realized how much we needed each other so much until now. And that is a good thing. And so to go forward in a positive manner and spread that, because positivity is contagious a whole lot more than negativity is, even though it's not going to be covered in the media. Just make that part of your philosophy every day. And again, that's something that you have to get into. What we're talking about is developing new habits, the way that you look at things. I will have a positive perspective, because the bottom line is your perspective guides how you respond to life's events.
All right. And when you're scheduling things, you should not just be scheduling deadlines and places you have to be, or what time you have to drop off your kids at Little League or whatever it is. You should also be scheduling time for yourself. So you should be scheduling, say, half an hour to read a book or listen to an audiobook, half an hour to take a leisurely lunch, half an hour to an hour. Make yourself something that you enjoy, food that makes you happy. Find things that you can put in your schedule that just make you happy. I just recently started a new, I don't know if I would call it a ritual yet, but before I go to sleep, the last thing that I watch on television is now old episodes of The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. And I'm watching these episodes from the 1970s. And of course, he's talking about current events for then, but with the perspective we have now, it puts things in a new light. I found it absolutely hysterical. One night the people were complaining about gas prices because they had hit 65 cents a gallon. Now, let's face it, if we saw 65 cents a gallon, we'd be ecstatic. So that sort of thing helps put things in perspective. They thought everything was terrible then, and they're talking about it, and I'm going, well, in retrospect, that's not that bad. Well, guess what? 30 years from now, people are going to look at this and go, well, in retrospect, there were good things that happened. We were able to come through this. So if we can look at it that way now, we always think, oh, this is terrible. But with some distance, you know what? Things weren't that bad. We were able to get through them. And that's how you can shift your mindset, but schedule time to do this.
Oh, absolutely. I love the Carson thing. You're bringing me back to my college days. I used to watch it every single night before I went to bed. And, growing up in the 60s and so on and so forth. And if you're looking back 100 years ago, the influenza pandemic that was here when people didn't know how to deal with it was killing a whole lot more people. Life, since humans have walked the earth, we've had these things that we've had to face. You and I didn't live through World War I and World War II, but we do have parents and grandparents that did. And the bottom line is, you can always look for things that are going well and be happy with that. And obviously, it's good to get in a routine at night to do that. And these days, if you just go to YouTube, you folks who are younger, you would love Carson. If you go to YouTube and just type in Johnny Carson Tonight Show, you too can share in the laughs that Eric and I are talking about.
Yeah, you can find it on YouTube, and now a lot of episodes have come on the streaming service Peacock for free. So you can take a look at that. But it's a matter of putting things into perspective. Now, on our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, we had done an interview with a psychologist, a British psychologist, who grew up with her parents talking about what they went through in England during World War II. Now, you're talking about a time, economies were terrible, but they were actually being bombed on a nightly basis. And, it came with the British tradition of stiff upper lip. But the fact of the matter is, imagine the Spanish flu. No internet, no Zoom. Many people didn't even have phones at that point. So think about how bad this could have been even 20, 30 years ago, when we didn't have a lot of the telecommunications abilities that we have now. Imagine if you had been going through this during World War II when there was bombings. We always think it's the worst thing that we could ever deal with, but the fact of the matter is there have been a lot worse. So getting back to time management, managing your stress becomes easier when you manage your time. When you have things to do, when you're keeping active, when you're doing things on a regular basis, this helps you deal with the stress and get through the lost time that we're all feeling.
Yeah, the biggest cause of stress is the fear of the unknown. And the more you plan and you manage things and take control of that unknown is going to get a back seat, because we talk about the present moment all the time, and the worst things that you can do with your present moment is, number one, live in the past. As I can't remember who said, but it's like fertilizing weeds or fearing the future, most of which is never, obviously it hasn't happened yet, and most of which won't happen. So being in the present moment and just enjoying it for what it is, it's so important. And that's what, we talked about mindfulness and meditation, and it's as easy as just taking a pause between an initial reaction and responding to things, and just kind of looking out there, taking a deep breath and appreciating what's right in front of you. And there's a whole lot of beauty out there.
Absolutely. And whether you're managing your time with a pad and paper, with a paper calendar, or with your computer, your phone, whatever software, whatever operating system you want to do, the key is to put a process in place so that all of this happens automatically, so that you've got something to remind you, oh, you've got to be at such and such a place, or you have such and such a phone call, and schedule phone calls on a regular basis, touching base with people. It can be a business call with a client, it can be a personal call with a friend or family member, but schedule time to contact people. That not only helps keep your schedule going, but it also helps your mindset, because you're connecting with other people and you're not dealing with everything alone. All right, so we're coming up on the end of our time. So, Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway from today?
Basically, when it comes to time management, it's taking control. And we talked today about starting the day with a positive routine. That's so important. But taking control by writing down your schedule, by doing planning, which is most important, uh, is a great way of really avoiding stress and getting through this on a day-to-day basis. I mean, the bottom line is, the more that you take control, the more everything is right in front of you. Use that calendar that you were talking about so you're getting all the reminders. The more we feel in control, the more comfortable we are. And it's all a function of time management.
That's it. If you don't manage your time, time will manage you. And because so much stress is created from a lack of control, getting your schedule under control gives you something to hold on to. So create that process, create those rituals, and schedule everything so that you have control of your day, your week, your month. Once you've got your schedule under control, it's easier to keep track of time. It's easier to keep track of tasks. And it's also so much better for your mindset, because you have a modicum of control and you can get everything you need to be done. And something I actually did want to bring up, but we didn't have a chance, is if you're looking for great ways to create schedules that can, keep you going, I highly recommend the book Getting Things Done by David Allen. He has tons of time management tips in there. It's a fantastic read, and most of what he writes, he actually did this pre-technology. So a lot of it depends on pen and paper, and he doesn't recommend any specific software, so there's no big outlay of money to follow what he's talking about. So I recommend you check that out. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch us every week at xvadio.com/podcasts. You can also find us on the Apple Podcasts app, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Stitcher, along with our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. See you then.